to transmit. Magnetic interference has been reduced to a minimum. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello. I apologize, my perceptions have been altered. Again, and again, and again, and for 23 times in this yearly unit called a day. This is our second expedition in the 21st century, this time in the historical year of 2017. We chose to come back to the same point in geographic location as our last report, which happened to be in the year 2016. We also chose to bring back the same very successful outfit. However, we made a major modification to the presentation of such a apparel. We have opted to study the apparel of other locals more closely upon realizing that the previous configuration of the collar, as they call it, was quite offensive and created an illusion of us being some sort of alien travelers or perhaps artists, not wanting to be recognized as what we are or as some unwanted part of society. We decided to conform to a more acceptable to the locals form of attire. A significant change has been made upon these dwelling units called a hotel. The lobby area has been renovated in order to create a less warm and less friendly atmosphere. We are baffled by this decision. The hotel rooms, however, have had quite an improvement in their air quality by the removal of synthetic carpet fibers and the replacing of them with some floor tiles. Upon entering this room, we immediately noticed and got extremely excited at the visibility of this historical brick wall that we thought had been tastefully made visible again after the removal of a previously ugly plaster wall, as you might have noticed by the leftover plaster particles. However, it took us 0.53% of a second to realize that we had been fooled. Our perceptions had been fooled. Our appreciation had been stolen away. This is a sham. This is a lie. This is an outright frustrating betrayal of our trust of these humans of this era. We thought they liked us. We thought they had intelligence. We thought they had taste. But no, creating such a lie, such a betrayal, such a waste of materials for something so false and ephemeral and unhistorical baffles the mind and creates an emotion called rage, which, if unchecked, could create an exponential muscle growth and a very attractive shade of green to replace this very unattractive shade of peach. But I digress. This false wall, even though it has been installed quite recently, is already showing major signs of distortion and severe cracking. So please feast your eyes upon this marvel of human deception and see that this might be very well the beginnings of the end for that era of history that has become so obscure in our files. This should be studied further. Another major change to the hotel complex was the introduction of a waffle machine in the dining area, which could be actually called a breakfast area. The term breakfast applies to the breaking of the fast, as I was explained by doing a Googling activity. Google is the most popular search engine of the era, and yes, people had to still type their search queries unless they had a specific vocal command option on their portable device. So Googling was also done with vocal commands. So when we engaged in Googling, we discovered the origin of the term breakfast, breaking of the fast. Regular locals will sleep approximately 8 hours per night to somehow restore the physical capabilities of their bodies and minds. We understand nothing of this sleep, but we also have to partake in it in order for our current incarnations to fully function and remain inconspicuous, as much as is expected, of course, under these circumstances. Other observations have come in the shape of strange discrepancies between this era and ours, as you may have noticed previously. This is a perfectly serviceable hat, and so is this from a secondary light source on my right and your left. That is another similarity. They still use left and right in this era. Maybe it originates from there. We don't know. I mean, why would they? They don't have the same internal anatomy as we do. We shall investigate this further. Now, these perfectly serviceable hats are not actually, simply because they are missing a major component that they seem to have not yet quite understood, or maybe we are just inadequate in activating them. Upon placing this hat device, as usual, on the head in the wide or narrow configuration, one notices immediately that the vocal output is actually altered in a most pleasant way. However, it could affect vocal commands upon certain devices or even recognition among a person's peers. But the main problem with this reproduction, which is unexplainable still to us, how could they know what the hats would look like several centuries in the future? We do not understand. However, the visibility feature has not been activated. No amount of vocal commands or physical manipulation seems to activate the visor function in either the narrow position or the wide position, rendering these dangerous as opposed to fashionable. Further investigation is required, of course. We have also noticed that certain elements of decoration which are placed upon these lamps are actually pretty accurate reproductions of an insect excrement from the planet Yarn, and I am quite concerned by this because, as you know, the very least of side effects upon being exposed to such remnants of the disappeared civilization of Yarn is not to be trifled with. So why would they, how could they, and what purpose could it possibly serve? Is this a case of transdimensional and temporal tempering? We don't know, but this bears a serious investigation priority. Please notify the authorities with this. Yarn creatures excrement reproduction. Now this is harmless, obviously. This is a wood carving that has been molded and reproduced in a resin plastic. However, the resemblance of the facets, the numbers of them, the size, the scale, and the texture are too close to be a coincidence, as the locals call similarities of events that seem to be fortuitous. I apologize, my language file seems to be, again, affected by the physical exhaustion of this current flawed incarnation. We have observed other things, but currently the accuracy and importance of such things are eluding me, and all I really want to do is have some fun. However, I cannot, because this body cannot handle more fun. We just came from a very exotic place called a Chocolaterie, which is a shop, a boutique, a historical boutique, actually a place that has been there for possibly a century, where they serve, where they sell a delicacy called chocolate. And now I would qualify this as an equal to the previously discovered orange juice. It has different effects, but it is similarly satisfying in terms of appreciation and euphoric. Effects. I apologize again. I am not currently under these substances influence. It has wore off several hours ago, but I felt it's obligatory to mention them as it might be still affecting me without my noticing. But according to the devices we brought with us, the effects have worn off. Thank you for paying attention, and as they say locally, keep on trucking.